सूरयहरिचक्षुराततं ॐ पवित्रः कविस्लो वा सर्वावस्थां गतोऽपि वा यस्मरे पुण्डरीकाक्षं सुबाह्याभ्यन्तरविश्रुतिः ॐ ह्रीं पीठदेवताभ्यो नमः ॐ ह्रीं पीठशक्तिभ्यो नमः ॐ ऐं सर्वदेवदेवीस्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः इत्यस्य मन्त्रस्य ब्रह्मऋषिकायत्रीछन्दस्सर्वदेवदेवीस्वरूपः श्रीरामकृष्णदेवतादिश्यविन्यासयो योगः ॐ ब्रह्मणे ऋषये नमः ॐ गायत्रीछन्दसे नमः ॐ ऐं सर्वदेवदेवीस्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः ऐं मुष्ठाभ्यां नमः त्रिजनेभ्यां स्वाहा मन्मथमाभ्यां वषट् कृन्दनायिकाभ्यां कृन्दनिष्ठाभ्यां वषट् ऐं रामकृष्णकरतलपृष्ठाभ्यां हस्ताभट् ऐं हृदयाय नमः रामतीर्थे स्वाहा मनशिखाय वषट् कृङ्कवचाय कृष्णनेत्राभ्यां वषट् ऐं रामकृष्णकरतलपृष्ठाभ्यां हस्ताभट् ॐ सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः ॐ हृदयकमलमध्ये राजितं निर्विकल्पं सदसदखिलभेदातीतमेकस्वरूपं प्रकृतिविकृतिशून्यं नित्यमानन्दमूर्तिं विमलपरमहंसं रामकृष्णं भजामः निरुपममतिसूक्ष्मं निष्प्रपञ्चं निरीहं गगनसदृशमीशं सर्वभूताधिवासं त्रिगुणरहितसच्चिद्ब्रह्मरूपं वरेण्यं विमलपरमहंसं रामकृष्णं भजामः वितरितुमवतीर्णं ज्ञानभक्तिप्रशान्ति प्रणयगलितचित्तं जीवदुःखासहिष्णुं धृतसहजसमाधिं चिन्मयं कोमलाङ्गं विमलपरमहंसं रामकृष्णं भजामः ॐ हृत्पद्मासनं दद्यात् सहस्रारच्युतामृतैः पाद्यं चरणयोर्दद्यात् मनस्कल्पं निवेदयेत् तेनामृतेनाचमनीयं साम्यं तेन च श्रुतमाकाशतत्त्वं वस्त्रं स्यात् गन्धः स्यात् गन्धपुष्पकं चित्तं प्रकल्पयेत् पुष्पं धूपं प्राणान् प्रकल्पयेत् तेजस्तत्त्वं च दीपार्थं नैवेद्यं स्यात् सुधाम्बुधिः अनाहतध्वनिर्घण्टा वायुतत्त्वं च चामरं सहस्रारं भवेच्छत्रं शुभ्रतत्त्वं च गीतकं नृत्यमिन्द्रियकर्माणि चाञ्चल्यं मनसस्तथा सुमेखलां पद्ममालां पुष्पं नानायुधं तथा अमायाद्यै भावपुष्पैः अर्चयेद्भावगोचरम् अमायम् अनहङ्कारमरागममलं तथा अमोहकमलब्धं च अद्वेषाक्षोभकौ तथा अमात्सर्यं प्रलोभं च वशपुष्पं अहिंसा परमं पुष्पं पुष्पमिन्द्रियनिग्रह दयापुष्पं क्षमापुष्पं ज्ञानपुष्पं च पञ्चमं दिवं च विशेषपुष्पैः पूजयेत् शिवम् सर्वदेवदेवीस्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः ॐ विदंसचन्दं पुष्पं सर्वदेवदेवीस्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः ॐ वनस्पतिरसोऽभिदेवं सुमनोहरः आग्नेयं सर्वदेवानां रूपोऽयं प्रतिदेवता ॐ सर्वदेवदेवीस्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः स्वरूपाय श्री राम कृष्णाय नमः। ओम प्राणाय स्वाहा प्राणाय स्वाहा व्यानाय स्वाहा उदानाय स्वाहा समानाय स्वाहा। चंदन पुष्पांजलि सर्वदेव देवी स्वरूपाय श्री राम कृष्णाय नमः। ओम ह्रीं गीतेगं पुष्पे सर्वदेव देवी स्वरूपिण्यै श्री शारदा देव्यै नमः। ओम गीतेगं पुष्पे श्रीमद्विवेकानन्दाय नमः। ओम श्वेतेगन्धपुष्पे आदिशंकराचार्याय नमः। ओम ईशचन्दनपुष्पाञ्जलिः साङ्गाय सावर्णाय सशक्तिकाय सपार्षदाय सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। So we will begin Khandana Bhagavad. Do you want to use that piano there? No, it's far.
That's out of tune.
Out of tune, yeah. की जय। जय श्री शारदा देवी जय। जय श्री स्वामी विवेकानंद की जय। जय भगवत पूज्य पाद शंकराचार्य की जय। वंशीधरं कृष्णं स्मयमानमुखाम्बुजं पीताम्बरधरं नीलं माल्यचन्दनभूषितम् राधाचित्तचक्षुरेन्दु सौन्दर्य सुमहोदधिं परात् परतरं देवं ब्रह्मानन्द कृपानिधिम् ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। As you know, in these Connecticut monthly meetings, we study Bhagavad Gita and the various aspects of it. A little while ago, we observed the birth anniversary of a great teacher of Upanishads, Vedanta, and especially Bhagavad Gita, Shankaracharya, who really a rejuvenator of what is called these days Hinduism. Originally the name was for that faith is Sanatana Dharma, or the religion eternal. So who rejuvenated this in the 8th century, Shankaracharya. So we were observing earlier, last week actually, the birth anniversary of Shankaracharya. And originally this meeting was scheduled also for last Sunday. But because this all was not available, we had to reschedule it. So this is how today we are going to discuss a very important part, that the Shankaracharya's commentary on Bhagavad Gita, introductory commentary, not the whole commentary, but the introduction that Shankaracharya wrote on Bhagavad Gita, which forms a part of Mahabharata. Swami Vivekananda mentions as one of the great accomplishments of Shankaracharya, that while he has a great life and did so many things in his very short time span, he died when he was 32. It is, and that was all. He knew that he is going to die by that time and so forth. But he went on making use of every second that he lived. It's amazing life. So one should study that life to understand that here is the divine appearing in human form to help humanity to solve its problems. It is the problems are not within our ordinary human power to get over. You need somebody to teach. It is teachership is always needed. That is why we have schools and universities, because as such we human beings do not learn on our own. Somebody has to teach, and somebody who is actually accomplished in this subject. Only such people are given the job of teacher. So now when religion is to be taught, who is competent to teach? God in human form. God is the only competent authority to talk about religion. But then that God has to make himself understandable, so has to speak in human tongue and therefore has to assume a human form also. So that is how Shankaracharya was incarnated, the divine incarnated in that form. And one of his great works is to take out this part from Mahabharata, which he recognized the tremendous significance in day-to-day practical life of this wonderful book, Bhagavad Gita, that it is important to bring the import of this book to all people. So he wrote an extraordinarily elucidating commentary on this great text. So, and we are going to look into the introductory. He wrote a nice introduction that why should one study Bhagavad Gita. Those who are conversant with the style of teaching of Shankaracharya, one just gets amazed even at the style with which he teaches. They does not say very big and terse and long sentences. The Sanskrit is very easy to grasp. Does not use, it is not verbose. Very clear statements. So when you want to translate Shankaracharya's Sanskrit, one sentence in, say, English, for one sentence you have to write 4 sentences, because the message has been so very nicely compressed. Not that those Sanskrit sentences are not expressive enough, they are very expressive, but that is the style of Shankara, his genius, to have availability of this kind of language at his disposal. A master of language. Even one can study Shankaracharya from the point of view of his usage of language. Very special, that it is in one sentence. Swami Vivekananda mentions that how these teachers they compressed so much of substance into a short single sentence, and he contrasted it with some of the modern philosophical writers that they write page after page, book after book, but if you see what substance, there is hardly anything worth. So it is lot of words with very little substance, whereas Shankaracharya very precise and concise writing, but full of substance, so rich. So we will be seeing this commentary today. I love this commentary, the introductory commentary, because it is the only place where you find a very coherent philosophy of God incarnating as human being. It has been mentioned in many places. Certainly in Bhagavad Gita it comes very often that how God assumes human form again and again. Because what was taught earlier that gets covered, and that is the point Shankaracharya makes here, that it should have been sufficient, isn't it? Once a God incarnation gave it, that again why God has to assume human form? Once done, that should be sufficient. Why it is to be given again and again? Because human beings, they distort those teachings. And then what was actually given and what is being understood after a few generations is completely different, rather opposite. And he gives the reason for that too. So we will read a part today of this introductory commentary and try to understand that. It is for the short time that we have, so we will read mostly only the English. Anyway, Sanskrit is not very easily understood, but I will give a few quotes from Sanskrit original. So he begins with the salutations in one Purana, that how this Lord expresses himself as this creation. It is the creation is Lord manifested. Everything is the word creation, because of the lack of a better word we use, but it is not that it like a potter making pots, and it is not creation like that. Because potter will require some raw materials. Potter is there, but just like that cannot make pots. You need some soil to make pots from. Soil, water, some other instruments would be needed to give it shape. So all that is needed for a potter to make pot. Moreover, the potter only in the sense of his skill goes into the pot. The potter otherwise remains separate from the pot. When you go and buy the pot, you don't buy the potter, you only buy the pot. So potter and the pot are not exactly same. But how does God create this universe? What material did God use? What implements God had to make this happen? Nothing, only the ignorance. It is means you don't see the reality, and you see there in that place this universe. God's this creation of the universe is therefore called Vivarta. Means something that appears, but it is actually a different thing. It is God appearing as all this. Like you see the movie. So in the movie you see so many pictures and events happening, but actually it is only the screen, isn't it? There is nothing else there. So the screen appearing as, say, a man, the screen appearing as a woman, the screen appearing as a little child, screen appearing as car and plane and all that. It is screen alone that takes the form of all these. So this is all God. So God manifested as this universe. And yet there is this universe has various aspects. As a movie, I am giving this example to make us understand that there is a script to the movie. The movie should go on. Although it is all screen, you do not buy the ticket to go and see the screen. What? Shubham, do you say that I am going there to see the movie or I am going to see the screen? You go to see the movie, but actually there is only screen and you know it about the movie part, Therefore, even when you see a big fire there in the movie, you do not call 911 sitting on your seat, hey, there is a big fire. No. Why? Because it is just an appearance. It is the screen alone is real. But then for, hello dear, it is too much torturing for that little kid, to sit for such a long time. And then probably the child, the baby thinks that this fellow is talking, I should also get some chance, some opportunity to open up my voice, So it is. Therefore, there is a story in the movie, and then that story goes on. So in this creation now, there is a story. It is all God, but unless we actually see it as God, we have I and you, and then we change. There is the learning process, and then therefore that God as the creator has made also a script, and in that script there is the person from ignorance goes to knowledge, and there is the ignorant person who gets deluded in the world, runs after various things in search of joy, and nobody runs after things in the search of suffering. We all go to get joy, but what we get actually as the effect, what we get is not joy. The joy is what we seek, and our activities are directed to get that, but what we end up in getting is suffering. And so this real source of joy is to be pointed out, and also we seek freedom. So real freedom is also to be pointed out, and humanity has to be guided in that direction. So this commentary says that look, for that purpose God incarnates as a human being to teach humanity, and that God has to do it again and again, because we human being, we forget, yes, but not only that, we distort because of our desires. And we have so many desires and if the God is telling that no, it is not to be done, I don't want to listen to that teaching of God. So what I do, I change it to suit my convenience and do whatever I want to do, but in the name of following religion. I am not following actually religion, but my own whims, and label it as religion. As I mentioned, we change the labels. That story is I told many times, but worth remembering that there was a disease known as Madras Disease. And there was a city there in India, Madras. So in Madras, people, because of some water issues, they used to get this disease, and it was called Madras Disease therefore. And the new government was coming, it said that our priority is to eradicate this disease. And they successfully eradicated it. How? They changed the name from Madras to Chennai. So now there is no Madras disease, just change the label. So the things remain the same. It is, we do it all the time. By just changing the name, nothing is going to happen. But still it gives us some that solace that yes, I am following religion. Actually I am not following. But while following my own whims, my whims are being labeled as religion. Like one lady, she wanted her husband to make coffee for her. You should make coffee. Because we are religious people, it is you who should be making coffee, not me. Husband said, well, I can make, but why not you? You should be making coffee too. It is, no, what has it got to do with religion? He said, don't you read our Bible? It always says he brews. She doesn't brew, only he brews, he brews. So it is, you should be brewing it. Got it, Teresa? Yeah, so he brews. So that is how we distort the teaching, as if Jesus came all the way to give this message that the lady should not be brewing coffee. So it is, that is how we distort the teachings, and that is why it is said here that this religion, he said, is twofold religion, because people have different levels of practice. Everybody cannot be practicing the same way. There are two prominent ways that are described in the Vedic literature, that pravritti and nivritti, means going for the outwardly works. There are now, the propensity of work is there. I must do this. So many things come up. I have so many wishes. Also, therefore I have to work. That tendency to work, it is there. Now it is, later on one realizes that it is futile, because there are the inherent contradictions. One Swami explained it to me, look, people say, why do we work? If we don't work, we won't get to eat. To eat, we have to work. Then why do you eat? Unless we eat, we can't work. So it is like that, a cycle. Unless we eat, we cannot work. And why do you work? Unless we work, we don't get to eat. So this is the cycle of people, that generally you see majority of people are like that. If they are told that this is the contradiction involved, they will not be able to understand. They are what is called the outgoing. there is this temperament, they go out, do various works, earn money, aspire for some positions in life, and so forth. But if this path of pravritti is followed properly, the outgoing, but do not do it haphazardly. Do it in a proper religious way. Then what happens? It teaches you while doing it that it is not going to be of much use here. You worked, what did you get? Examine. It is, you spent all life running after various desires, and you got so many things. But now, just look at it, what you got. You got many bondages, that's all. You got various types of chains on your hands. Now you may be showing them off as ornaments, that's all. That it is, look, I have got so many ornaments. What are they? The chains that are tying you. So it is, you may say that, look, I have got a nice necklace. But then there is something tied there on the back by which you will get tied. It is that there is no liberation there. So you see that all that I was struggling in life for was not going on the right path. So what happens then? You start retracing, retracing your steps in the reverse direction. And that is called nivritti. That it is, means going in the opposite direction. Like when you are going in the wrong direction, driving for a long time, and you see, realize that it is a mistake. And like from Providence, if you are driving to New York and you started in New York 160 miles, after driving for hours, you see in New York 200 miles. And then what? Are you driving in the right? No, it should have been by now New York only 100 miles instead of 160 miles. Now it has become more than 200 miles. You have made a mistake. So what do now? You go back. You see that this was not the right route. And now GPS tells you how to go. But in other times you have to stop and ask at a gas station. Even this the GPS, the other day our Abhijit had to stop and ask that I missed the exit road. Now I went in the wrong direction. Where is this place? So then they guided him to the right direction. So this is what we understand in life. So the two paths are then, one does not understand till you go in the natural propensities that drag you. Even if you are told, no, that is not right, you may listen with politeness, but you won't follow that. It is impossible. But when you yourself experience that no, you were getting misery in the name of happiness, you looked for happiness, but what you got was not exactly what you were seeking. So some mistake has happened and I have to go back. Shankaracharya mentions that this is now the nivritti. Pravritti, nivritti. Outgoing, again incoming. It is in this Bible, New Testament, you find two characters describing these two kind of temperaments. One is Martha and Mary, Martha and Mary. Martha busy doing lot of work, but doing it for the service of God. She was not so much absorbed in Jesus like Mary. Mary just got absorbed in Lord. She didn't want other things. And Martha was running about doing all the arrangements because the Lord has come to our home. So both these things are the different tendencies suitable to different people. Martha has her way. Jesus did not criticize Martha. But when Martha was criticizing Mary that, look, I had to do all the work, this my sister, and she just sat near you. What is this? It is not proper, I had to bear the brunt of doing all these works and this sitting just. So Jesus says, no, Mary has a different temperament. She found Jesus. That is, she knows that is the goal. She doesn't want to run after so many doing different works. That is not she. Martha, even if Martha is told, okay, why don't you go and sit there at the feet of Jesus? Her temperament will not let her do it. She has to work. At Vedanta Society also many come and meditate, and many come and say, give me something to do. I want to do something. It is just meditating. 5 minutes meditation is rather too much. You get such questions. I like to meditate, but do I have to sit half an hour? 5 minutes should be enough, I guess, because they are not temperamentally suited to sit for more than that. In 5 minutes also, if they sit, after 2 minutes they will look at the watch. It is very difficult to remain silent. You can see that when it is said somebody's death has happened, there is a funeral meeting or some condolence meeting, and it is said, let us observe 2 minutes of silence. Those 2 minutes keep on because there is no habit of remaining silent. It is the temperament is not to remain silent and just not doing anything. Not possible. Sri Ramakrishna used to tell this a nice story that, look, there was one mendicant who used to come and to the king's court, and the king said, oh, very good, and king used to make arrangement for his food and all, and the fellow would just sit and meditate outside the king's palace under a tree, and the food and all supplies, everything necessary was given to him. But the many in the court, his ministers and all, they became jealous. This fellow is just being given supply for free, he doesn't do any work. So they complained to the king that, look, this is this freeloader, you are promoting wrong tendencies, king. No, it is the fellow just sits, does nothing, and you give him all the food stuff, everything. Let him do work and earn. King said, why you are worried about it? What botheration do you have? If you sit, I will give you also. Just sit. Let us see. And then nobody could sit. It is because that temperament is not there. It is, you also sit, I will give you. No, not possible to sit. So you need to do lot of work. These two tendencies are there, and both tendencies are in human beings. Both these tendencies need to be given proper direction. That is the job of religion, giving both these tendencies a proper orientation. So, with that orientation, both will progress, both will develop on their own path. So, because there is the desire for enjoyment, Sri Ramakrishna tells that okay, if you tell the mind, don't run after that desire, that is not, even if that person listens to it politely, even if that person understands, will not be able to restrain from that activity because of all these past impressions there. The desires are very difficult to control, and when you get into a habit of running after certain things, you cannot restrain easily. It is because now it has become concretized as a habit in your life, and habits they die hard. Remove H, a bit remains. HABIT. Remove H, a bit remains. Remove A, bit remains. Remove B, it remains. So that is why the habits they die hard. So what one needs to do is they give it a proper turn. So Sri Ramakrishna said, I had a desire once to eat those sweet cheese balls, rasagullas. So now that desire is there to eat. So a few rasagullas were got, and then I put in the mouth, and then kept on telling the mind, oh mind, this is called eating of rasgulla. Got it? It is, after all, it gives you some nourishment. The nice taste, that taste is while it is here, from here up to here, for a few seconds. And the taste is gone. And then the problem happens. You will add more weight, and so, like one of our members say, that a moment on the lip, forever on the hip, you see. So, a moment on the lip, that's it. It is, he has some such nice quips. You indulge and you bulge. So, it is, therefore, don't do that. So, it is. So, Sri Ramakrishna, while he said, I rolled the rasgulla, their balls, so from one, this thing, end of the mouth to other end, and then told my mind, what is this? This is not a good stuff to aspire for. How did you get this kind of desire? Okay, once you had it, that's it, and don't think of it again. So that is how, when there is the unstoppable craving for something, and then, okay, tell mind, oh, see, what did I get out of it? Only more misery. The enjoyment was only delusion. It just passed. So therefore the wise people said that the enjoyment really is only in hope that you will get it. That is the psychology of enjoyment. That it is going to be there. It is never in the present tense. You keep on hoping that if you do this, then you will have a lot of happiness. So you keep on hoping for it. It never comes because that is not there. So gradually, when these tendencies for enjoyment are guided like this, then they can turn towards the proper understanding, and then you start going back to your true nature. It can be seen like this, that it is Suppose our Shubham stands in front of the mirror to see whether his face looks okay or not. I have to go out now and let me see how my hair is. And he sees that, well, his hair needs to be given some, some brushing, some combing is necessary. And if he takes the comb and starts it, on the mirror, because he sees on the mirror, starts combing the hair on the mirror. How long will it take, Shubham? Forever. It will not done at all. Will you not get frustrated? Yeah, one will get frustrated. That is why in this world people get frustrated. Everything that they go to do, it is like this. Because although you see it out there, it is actually here. When he does the combing here then it gets corrected here and corrected in the mirror also. So all the happiness is actually here. We think that it is in this man or in this woman or in this object and try to, go out there. It is exactly like trying to, correct the hair by putting comb on the mirror. It never ever is going to happen. So when you realize it, then you turn your attention to, oh, actually it is here, not there. So then the problem is solved, the happiness is here. Then you get not waiting for happiness to come. You get it because you got it to the source now. That is called the path of giving up. Giving up what? Giving up all the trash that has accumulated, stinking trash. The life becomes a big stinking trash. So it is to be renounced, it is to be given up. That is what is the meaning of renunciation. Nothing that is worthwhile is being renounced. Only as Ranganathananji is fond of saying, that because he taught in United States for many times here, so he got those words that you have to renounce only dumbness. Who likes to, keep dumbness? What Guru, you like to keep dumbness? No, nobody wants to, retain dumbness. It is, let it go. So, that is what is called the path of nivritti in Sanskrit, means going back to your own abode. That Bengali song, it is translated into English very nicely. That Swami Vivekananda sang that song to Sri Ramakrishna. In some books it is said the very first meeting, that song was sung by this Vivekananda to Sri Ramakrishna. Mon cholo nija niketane. Oh mind, go back to your own abode. That is where own abode, our true self, that is to be sought, that is to be realized, because that is the source of all happiness. So Shankaracharya tells here that this message has been given by Lord from many ages back. But what happens that people keep on forgetting this message. It is this religion that was taught by the Lord, that the omniscient and adorable Veda Vyasa, the arranger of the Vedas, embodied in the 700 verses called Gita. The exact words of Krishna are not put there. It is because they were having the conversation and the literature style for those days, because it was not written down, it was all in memory. And memorization becomes easier when you put it to a meter. It becomes a nice rhyme, so it is easier to keep it to memory. So Vyasa put it in a verse form in this great treatise Mahabharata. So it is Vyasa composed this Mahabharata, and in Mahabharata these 700 verses come. And Shankaracharya saw that tremendous significance of this message given by God Himself to Arjuna, who is very much deluded and is understanding that I am deluded and wants to come out of delusion. For that person, such a message becomes very useful, and it is so comprehensive. It is told here that it is this famous Gita Shastra is the epitome of the essentials of whole Vedic teachings. That is what Shankaracharya mentioned. Samasta Vedartha Sara Sangraha Bhut is the Sanskrit expression. The epitome of the whole teachings of the Vedas. So it has been explained word by many, but still it is not properly understood in its significance because people distort it. So therefore he said, I am writing a short commentary on it to make this accessible to people. This Shankaracharya's introduction is like the opening of the door, like when you are entering a house. The house is big and the door is not that big, so door could be small, but it provides you the entry to the big house. So Shankara's commentary is like the small door to the big mansion of Bhagavad Gita, and as you enter through the door, it becomes now accessible to you. So Shankaracharya made a door that hitherto was not there. So the door got blocked completely. So he carved out that door for us. And he said why it was necessary, that because that Sakale Neva Mahata, that Lord Himself says later in the 4th chapter, that I had given this wisdom earlier also many times, but in the course of time it all got distorted and unusable. The times changed and people's minds also to some extent changed, and therefore those very teachings now were not applicable. So Lord therefore says, I made it re-applicable in the new form. So every time that it is the incarnation, God incarnates for this purpose. So it is said here, why does this happen? That he says, Anushtatrinam kamodbhavat. Those who want to practice that, now their minds have lot of desires, and so they change it to just suit their lifestyle, whatever they are doing, and that is thought of as practicality. It is practicality is really that by which you can in practice realize the goal that you have set. That should be the practicality, and not bringing down the ideal. That then everything is practical by default, it is. You don't have to change yourself. It is, in Providence, I was there in the morning, and I said, well, just let me call this as Stores, Connecticut, then I will not have to go. No, it is you have to go. But the inertia, the Newton's first law of motion, inertia, it is applicable to our minds also. Unless it is given some forceful this message, it doesn't stir from its comfort zone. Fine, and that is not practical. What is practical? Just pull down the ideal. That is what commonly done by people and call it the teachings of the scriptures. I have made it suitable to myself. That is, therefore, it has to be now restated in the new format. That is why the God has to incarnate again and again. Also, there are many ideas that come up even in our times in this scripture, Bhagavad Gita, that people interpret it politically to suit their political agenda. That Lord said this is. So to suit the political agenda, they do it, or their own tendencies. So Shankaracharya emphasizes here that this is a practical science for achieving moksha or liberation. Moksha is the Sanskrit word which tells the total liberation, freedom. And that is the purpose of it. That is the goal of life, and this gives you a correct idea of the goal as well as the how you can achieve it. And both these things are told, that is the great thing in the teachings of incarnation. Their teachings are made always practical, applicable. That is why, like Jesus says, I am the goal, I am the way. Not only goal, then how to attain into it? No, just look at my life. I am the goal, I am the way. Shankara mentions that this is how the practical teachings go on. So, and these are teachings given by Lord Himself. So there is no mistake there. It is, and the combination of both, that there is the pravritti dharma of the religion of work. So that is also taught. For example, in the beginning, the student Arjuna is, although had the desires, did not want to do anything about them because of the fear and because of that terrible inertia about it, and thus, the attachments that he had, did not want to give them up. So he came there to fight the war. But then, right as the weapons were unsheathed, he caught cold feet. Let me rethink. And he bought some time for rethinking by telling, hey Lord, please. He was not calling him Lord then. Hey Krishna, as his friend, and the charioteer. Charioteer is like a chauffeur that you tell where to go, and he has to obey you, that okay, And so Krishna took the chariot where Arjuna wanted, where in between the two armies, Senayor Ubhayor Madhye. Why? So that I will be able to see with whom I have to fight. Now, did he not know beforehand whom he was going to fight? He didn't need to really do that, but it was buying time, when you feel confusion, you don't want to fight, but then now you cannot directly say that, so you want to rearrange your thoughts. It is like a retreat strategy or escape strategy. You have to plan the escape. So he got some time and then gave a lecture to Krishna that how bad the fighting is. So Krishna, one sentence was enough Krishna to answer all that about 40 verses that Arjuna was telling, that by war fighting what this bad thing will happen, by this bad things will happen, it is bad, therefore even if those people don't understand, they want to fight, we are the wise people, we should at least understand and not fight. So many things. It is when his blabbering finally stopped and he thought that Krishna is going to now give me a pat on back saying that, wow, so nice you Arjuna, you are such a wonderful, compassionate philosopher and all that. I never thought that you would be so good. But instead of that, he got a big blow. That Krishna said, no, you fool, that Ashocha Nanashochastvam Prajnavadanscha Bhashase. You are talking like as if you are a wise person. Actually, your actions just tell that you are stupid and using the words of a wise man. So you have to fight, but don't fight without giving it a proper thought. Do not fight out of these emotions of anger and so forth. Without becoming angry, fight as your duty. So that will gradually turn your mind, and then you will become come to that stage that we see the transformation of Arjuna. It is interesting to see that this Pravritti Nivritti Shankaracharya mentions this, that Arjuna was full of this desire to fight, and he was not fighting because of the spirit of renunciation, because of the fear, delusion, and attachments, terrible attachments, I and mine. That is why when the chariot was brought in between the two armies, Arjuna did not see a single enemy to fight with. Whom did he see? All mine, my uncles, my teachers, my grandfather, and so forth, my cousins, all mine, I and mine, all objects of terrible attachment. Now, no question of fighting, they are mine, So, that is how the attachments were preventing him from executing his duties. And Krishna sees through that, all that facade of putting the arguments for not fighting. There is no such non-violence. Suddenly Arjuna didn't get that spirit of non-violence. Till just a few hours ago, he was telling, I am going to kill all these Kauravas with my arrows. But changed. And Krishna sees that, Shankara brings it out, that therefore he has to be given the medication for pravritti dharma, that you do your duty, do it as your duty, not running after the results. Do your duty, and then you will get the spirit of renunciation. Then in the gradually you see Arjuna's questions change. Initially his question was only, oh, I am suffering, take me out of suffering. Next come then his questions that how can one see God and so forth. Till then, in the beginning there is no desire for God or anything, just oh, this misery, take me out of this misery and suffering. That is the only desire. But then, as his mind got calmed down, the situations become clear, the delusion gave way to proper understanding. Then, and ultimately, it is all renunciation. The last message that Krishna gives him, and the answer of Arjuna to that is very illuminating. And that is also mentioned by Shankaracharya here, that you see in Bhagavad Gita, it is that how Karma Yoga is a means of supreme bliss. What happens by doing your work? If you do your duty, what happens? Your duty cleans the mind. Doing the work in the right spirit becomes a cleanser. Like you want to clean something, and then you take some soap and some cloth, some wipe, and then you wipe it, things become clean. Karma Yoga is like that. Wipe it out, clean it. Now you see the truth. So it says, through the religion of work, Shankaracharya says, which is a means of obtaining worldly prosperity, is enjoined on several castes and religious orders, leads the devotee to the region of the Devas, means illumined regions, and like still when practicing in a spirit of complete devotion to the Lord and without regard to the immediate results, it continues to the purity, it conduces to the purity of mind. And the Sanskrit word he has used is sattva shuddhi. That it leads now to sattva shuddhi or chitta shuddhi. And the man whose mind is pure is competent to now tread the path of knowledge. It is this pure mind now would go on the path of knowledge. That is how they become complementary. It is like you do something as a preparatory and then do the next thing. It is, suppose you have to go in the car, and then first you have to fill the car, you have to fuel it. Like on the way we had to fuel the car. So, and then go drive. It is, there is this order. You won't be able to say that although there is no fuel in the car, I will drive and then later on I will fill the car. No, you won't be able to drive. There is no fuel there. How will you drive, my dear? No, it is not possible. Or the other example, that day our devotee Naomi, she said, I can't come because I got a flat tire. So yes, now you have to first fix the tire, then drive, then come. You can't say that, because that is how the sequence is. First cleans the mind through work. That is the capability, the efficacy of work is that it cleanses the mind. So now when the mind becomes clean, then it is, you can see the truth. I have observed it so many times, many people who want to, just sit in meditation, or the mind is turbulent with so many questions. One lady used to come, and she had full of questions and unending questions. So in the class, she would ask the question, and then always, and very turbulently asking questions. So it is, I said, okay, come later on, we'll talk. So I told her, I said, do you really want answers to your questions? What do you mean? She got upset with me. I want answer and therefore I ask question. I will tell you how to get the answers. You do the work here. And then you don't have to ask any questions. You will start getting answers as you work. And that is what happens. Because the answers are right there. Because you are not seeing, now how will you see those answers? Your questions will remain unending because, you are shutting your eyes. Now you do the work, the eyes will open. You will be able to see. That is how the karma yoga, the yoga of action, gradually leads to this purification of heart, and thus one gets liberated by that knowledge that is seen. So this is brought out in the Shankara's commentary of Bhagavad Gita. The whole commentary is so beautiful. But this introductory commentary says that, look, that is how this happens, that the man whose mind is pure is competent to tread the path of knowledge, and to that person comes this knowledge, and thus indirectly the religion of work forms also a means of supreme bliss. Indirect, not direct. It is, of course, the word direct and indirect need not be taken very literally. You can take it, the whole thing as one, It is, you can have a connecting flight, that you go at one place, then you take another flight to go to your destination. So, you can take it as the one journey. It is my one journey. You book one ticket for that, It is, both segments are booked in one ticket. That, okay, you go from here, our Abhijit goes to from Worcester to Newark, then to California. So now it is one ticket. You can call it just one journey, or you can split it. You can call it as two journeys, one to there and then from there to. So it is a matter of terminology, direct or indirect. It is, but the part that the work plays is this, cleansing the mind. In Vivek Chudamani also Shankaracharya mentions this. Sri Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, they also have mentioned this, that the work cleanses you. Holy Mother said that yes, you should do work. Why? Because the work will cleanse the mind. If you don't work, there is a popular idiom also, that empty mind, what happens to empty mind? Devil's workshop. So work is very necessary. Do work. It is, at least fills the mind. Many people who are, having psycho problems, the best therapy is, put them to some work. That's it. My predecessor Sarvagatananji used to tell the incident, and that one kind of bit crazy man used to come to that center in Kankhal. Now to would talk whatever nonsense and then do so to keep him busy. It is he gave him some work, okay, do this work. What work? A nice work was given, useless but nice work. Peel these grapes, Have you seen anybody peeling the grapes? Peel the grapes, peel them nicely. The idea was not peeling the grapes. The idea was to keep this person busy. And thus this person stopped asking unnecessary questions. He got answers. He became gradually a spiritual person. So you need to do something, It is peel the grapes. I like that idea. Peel the grapes. So, and then a few grapes, and then the fellow was busy for 2-3 hours. So, that gave the mind to remain calm. So, that is Shankara's commentary. So, let us conclude with our Bhagavad Gita usual prayers. Then if you have questions, you can ask. Gita sugita kartavya kimanyat shastra vistaraihi ya swayam padmanabhasya mukha padmad vinishrita ekam shastram devaki putra gitam eko devo devaki putra eva eko mantra yasya namani yani कर्माप्येकं तस्य देवस्य सेवा श्री कृष्णार्पणमस्तु. Are there any questions here? There is. You have a question, Deepak? No.
I'm the guy who always asks the question, so I guess I do actually.
You got the answers. No? Hey, yeah. Yeah.
The question I have is, I keep hearing this part that you said today, that God created the universe. This is a big drama He has created. Cast out characters keep coming in and coming out.
Yeah.
Souls evolve over time
in
the pursuit of finding the real truth. So obviously, from time to time, God is also inserting Himself or herself into the whole process, so that to facilitate the so-called the journey. So obviously, the drama is taking place. The question is, what's the purpose of the drama? Why was this universe created?
There is no answer to this. There is no answer to this. Swami Vivekananda has described it in his book Jnana Yoga, the 5th chapter or 4th chapter, I don't remember exactly the number of the chapter. It is titled Absolute and Manifestation. Why this universe was created? As if there is always a why for something. That also is an assumption. Why should there be a why for everything? There is, and therefore this question really cannot be asked about the universe. It is after you have the universe, then in that universe there is why, how. So why the universe is created? Sri Ramakrishna told a very nice incident that that day he said that people were discussing why God has kept misery in this world. So Kedar said that, the day God decided to have misery in this world, and in that meeting in which God took this decision, I was absent on that day in that meeting, so I cannot tell you about it. The answer is given in a humorous way, but the point is that are not there in any of those considerations. That Jesus tells it that, well, God's thoughts are not man's thoughts are not God's thoughts. So why this universe, why this drama is made? One answer the scriptures give is that so that God can enjoy the bliss of liberation while living. Jivan mukti rasa swada hetave janmadharitam atmana nitya muktena natu samsara kamyaya. This is a beautiful Sanskrit verse. Turiyananji used to recite it very often. That it is everything is just freedom, but as a human being, how one can become free? That is the whole drama. You enjoy the bliss of realizing the divine while in the human body. Yes.
So,
Vinay?
you asked a question, or you mentioned like kind of like looking in the mirror, and like combing the mirror, and the realization that you yourself have to change that habit.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned kind of like I think from the Swamiji's who like with the Rasgulla, right? Like how he kind of. So I'm thinking of like a practical application. So like I get it with the food, but I'm thinking the other weird desire, not like desires, but like like right now I want to go golfing. Like, things like that, just like those types of things where the pursuit of happiness might lead to misery, whether it's like at work or something like that. Is there some more practical applications of what to do mentally or thinking? That's kind of...
Yeah, it is that Rasagulla was given just an example.
Yeah,
with every desire, when you go to fulfill it, try to think that it is, was it really giving you what you went with it to pursue? And it is, it took you there, but you didn't get what you would be, you were thinking of getting from there.
But then do you just like lose desire slowly? Like, like no longer derive pleasure from eating?
Yeah, then you will lose the desire to eat a particular thing. You will eat for the nutritional aspect of it. And that, okay, it is like medicine, so food is considered medicine for the disease of hunger. That is also a nice verse of Shankaracharya. In that Sadhana Panchakam, this beautiful verse comes that it is Shudvyadhi Chikitsitam Pratidinam Bhikshaushadham Bhujyatam. That Shudvyadhi means it is a disease called hunger, So to treat this disease of hunger, I take the medicine called food. So now you don't eat out of desire, you eat out of the need.
So I think about it more from like that makes sense, but then when I think about things like work, right? Like something or like education, right? Those kind of things where it's like there's this desire to like learn about something. But then, it's like at some point there's like an infinite amount of like materialistic knowledge you can learn, whether it's math or science or computers or whatever. How does that work? Or is there a
that is also when you are learning, see what you are getting out of that, what is the substance. So all education, and you will see it ends up in a learned ignorance. That earlier it was unlearned ignorance. After pursuing lot of education, where do we get? A learned ignorance, that's all. When you think about it, you will be able to see that it is like that.
Like categorizing space.
Exactly.
Okay. So
it
it's
is
like a
just
library in your mind of like, hey, these are things I know, but it's not really. I'm still ignorant to like myself.
Yeah. So it is. You have not learned anything. That that nice story in the Chandogya Upanishad about this. That a very highly learned man, Narada, goes to the teacher Sanat Kumar that, oh, why have you come? I want to learn from you. Okay, but then tell me first what you already have learned. And this Narada gives a big list, all exhaustive list. I have learned all Rig Veda, Yajurveda, all Vedas I have finished learning. I have also finished learning all the associated disciplines of Vedas called Vedanta. Means grammar, diction, astrology, and although I have learned that, I have learned astronomy, mathematics, I have learned physics, chemistry, medicine. His list is so exhaustive. I have learned music, dance, theater, also all these circus skills, magic skills, everything I have learned. And then what is remaining to be learned? All disciplines are exhausted, Everything has been learned. Then why have I come to you? Because I have not known this self, and that is why I am experiencing tremendous suffering. And I have also heard that by the knowledge of the self, you go beyond suffering. So I have come to you. But Narada understood it after going through this process. Narada saying that all this learning is useless. And somebody who is a lazy, indolent person, never goes to school because wants to roam about, that person saying, oh, this learning is useless, they are two very extreme ends. This other fellow should go to school. He should not say that all this learning is no use.
Maharaj, the word that you had, or you learned ignorance.
Yeah.
That's so profound.
It is.
Because I find the more you learn, more the realization that you are conscious incompetent. You become conscious of incompetence.
Incompetence. You become conscious of it. That is a statement that Swami Vivekananda used to like a lot. It is ascribed to that a philosopher Hamilton. And the next sentence is that where philosophy ends, religion begins. So Hamilton was a philosopher. So he said that after the end of all this philosophy, what is it? Learned ignorance. And where the philosophy ends, does the religion begins. Okay, then any question here?
Yeah, few of them.
A few of them. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. Hey, you have to leave, isn't it? Okay.
So Shoma Chakravarti asks, how do we know what is our duty and what is not?
What is our duty and what is not? It is whatever comes to you and whatever you have to do, whether you like or you don't like, and that is your duty. It has come to you. Like say you have a child. Now to take care of child is what? Your duty. But do it as your duty. Do not do it out of attachment. Do not have the right, a proprietary kind of right on the child. My child. No. Sri Ramakrishna used to tell, then you land in bondage. But think of a nanny. Think that you are an appointed nanny to take care of the child. Because actually the child doesn't belong to you at all. It is your delusion. That what did you do? You went to do something to satisfy your passion. And the child got born. And then that's it. You didn't make anything. It is why labor under this delusion that it is my child. You didn't make it, God made it. So know that. And so take care. Oh, it's not my child, so I will dump. No, not that. And take good care of the child. As a nanny, a good nanny would take care. Think of yourself as nanny. And don't think it is mine. No. In families, many problems come because of this parents' terrible attachment to their children. Then the children, afterward, as they grow, they show the signs of revolt. Don't dictate to me. It is I will decide what I want to do, and so forth. So because they were not yours, you were given a duty. So that is the duty, Soma.
Charlie has a question. In science, there must be precise criteria. What are the specific criteria for knowing that someone is God in human form?
Well, that's a good question. How do you know somebody is God in human form? First thing is that there is no dearth of knowledge there. It is. Secondly, there is absolutely that tremendous bliss incarnate there. There is nothing is needed from outside. And third thing, that is the influence is tremendous. You will not ask this question. You will ask this question to Yogatmananda. But when you are in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna, the answer is right in front of you, So you will not get the no precise criteria can be told, because that is difficult to understand. Shankaracharya has given that there is this 6 characteristics. When they are in the full bloom there, you see that is the God incarnate. In Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play that we are studying on Tuesdays, Swami Sardananda describes about this, that in this, you see, there is absolutely no purpose. In Shankara's commentary that we studied today, there is one sentence that why God incarnates, how God incarnates. Swaprayojana abhave api bhutano jigrikshaya, that without having the slightest motive of his own, that is a very, if we have the capability to see this, that there is all our actions are have some motive, whereas this incarnation of God has absolutely no motive of his own, and yet goes through that. He does everything for others, like a primary school teacher would show how to write, that it is so that teacher also holds the pencil and shows, hey, this is how you have to do it. But the teacher doesn't actually need to do it, but for the sake of the child and the student, the teacher also takes the pen and that, oh, draw it like this. So that is how the incarnation of God can be understood. But let me confess here, it is very, very difficult for anyone to easily understand that this is God incarnate. During Sri Ramakrishna's lifetime, how many understood that? Rarely. How many took Jesus to be God incarnate when he was, they went and hanged him, During Rama's time, it says that only a few sages could understand that he is God incarnate. Otherwise, that there is this story that Ramayana, Tulsi's Ramayana begins. that Bharadwaj asked this question of Yajnavalkya, that why you call Rama as the God incarnate? He probably was a good warrior. He was a king and was because we know that one Rama we know that the king of Dashratha, and Dashratha banished him to forest, and then his wife got stolen by Ravana, and so he got so mad at Ravana that he killed Ravana. But what is there? That is, he was a big guy, that's all. How he becomes God? That is very difficult to understand. It is. Then that Yajnavalkya tells the story that even Sati, living with Shiva, she also failed to get it. She saw Rama when Sita was gone and stolen by this Ravana, and then Rama is crying profusely and looking for Sita here and there, asking trees and that where is my Sita? And so much of that sorrow is shown there. And then Sati sees Shiva salutes this Rama, and she got upset. Hey, why you are saluting? He is a mere ordinary human being crying like that because his wife is gone. Shiva tried to explain, but she won't agree. So Shiva said, go and test. And this Sati came to test. How to test? She thought, okay, he is looking for Sita. Let me change my form to look exactly like Sita. And then Rama will become so, oh my Sita, I was looking for you, I found you. Would become so full of joy. But then when she came right where Rama was looking for Sita, and Rama folds hands to her, hey, what brings you here? And how is Shiva doing? And she became so ashamed. So, it is not easy to recognize an incarnation of God. Got it, Charlie? Okay.
And G.P. Krishnamurti. Dear Maharaj, Shashtanga Pranams. Despite keeping busy physically and mentally, somehow the mind seems to always have a section that still processes its own not useful thoughts.
Okay, yeah.
How to control that?
How to control that? Continue what you are doing. It takes time. It is a process, Every process has a certain time. Like we drove from Providence to here, something like an hour and 20 minutes. So, if you just after 1 minute, if you ask, hey, are we not still there? We have been driving for 1 minute and still we are still in the city of Providence. What is this? So it is. It takes time, needs perseverance. But yes, you will see some results that are coming your way if you are following the right path. That's the answer for it. That's it. Okay, friends. So please join the prasad kept there. Take quickly something in your hand and leave. Yeah, he has to go. Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmanautam Brahmaivate Nagantavyam Brahmakarma Samadhina. This prasad online will not be distributed. It is not only those who are in person, they will get it.